Hello, this is early July right now, and here are maps on the climates or the zoning for plants from a plant book. And there's Australia, Tasmania, New Zealand. New Zealand is far out into the ocean, down southeast of Australia. That's Tasmania right there. It's a blown up picture here. So it gets cool there, probably below freezing every now and then. There are conifers from there that could survive in a mild winter climate. Some big conifers. It's almost a rainforest there. It's very humid. Australia gets cool too. In southern Australia, down to the 40s during the winter. So here in America, comparatively, it's colder. Right there in North Carolina, where we are, is in the blue. That's zone 7. Here's the map, the list of the different zonings. So, yeah. So the tropical areas would be on the bottom, zone 12. Up you go till Arctic. It's like zone 0 there. The white one is zone 0. No plant life. So, it's -50, -40, -40, or -46. Yeah, so, anyway. So we have, here's another one of Europe. So, there's Germany, Berlin, Poland. France is over here. The Western Europe is milder. Influence from the sea. You know, it's farther away from Siberia. Siberia is like there. That's really cold. Scandinavia is not too bad. I've read that the ice does not freeze up north, so the ocean blocks the cold fronts that way. But the cold fronts from Siberia come this way, from the east. That's why it's colder here than over there. To the west. Norway's milder than in Finland. So, here in Africa, I've seen online a weather forecast. It actually gets cool there, but never really cold. It cools off like Western Europe does. But here on this map, it shows it a lot milder. So, I guess the Mediterranean blocks a lot of the cold fronts. But that's where the Tunisian bees are from, or the Punic bees, intermissa. That's Tunisia right there. Tunis, it's a city in Tunisia. Morocco here. Algeria. So the Tunisian bees do range up into Spain. On southern Spain here, there's Madrid in the center. So the center's the coldest. Or it gets the coldest nights. It might be that on average it's not the coldest. On average the coast is cool. Very cool. But never very cold. So this is not the average. This is more like the extreme cold nights that they get. This map of plant zones. So anyway, the Tunisian bee goes like from there to here, and there's mountains here, and the Atlas Mountains that have made the subspecies major. It's like Tunisian bee too, but it has a long tongue, like a Caucasian bee. It's 7 millimeters long, or 0.7. I forget which way. I think 7 millimeters long. So that's like a Caucasian bee, the tongue length. Spanish blacks are up here. They intermix here with Tunisian bees. The Tunisian bees are up into southern Spain. They are mixed in with Spanish black. And here's Portugal. It has a coastal climate. It's really cool, I guess, during the summer, or mild during the winter, and wet. Like Western Europe, it's a lot of maritime influence. So I wonder if we have any of the Tunisian bees, because we have some short short-banded black bees in North Carolina here. They're kind of common in our mixture, and they build up early in the springtime, and they have wet cappings, and they purplize, like the Italians. They purplize more than the Carniolans do. They purplize a good amount. So here in North Carolina, it's a good bit colder But our average temperatures are rather warm, about 45 degrees during the winter, midwinter in January. That's our average. So we get nectar through the winter sporadically from the red maples blooming in henbit, purple dead nettle. So the ground doesn't really freeze in North Carolina, but it gets some cold nights down to the teens during the winter. At least one night, usually every winter, it gets down to the teens. So it's pretty cold. It's just we get a lot of warm days that raises the average temperature, like in the 60s and 70s and midwinters. We get those days too. So the cold fronts will come, and then when they reach us over the Appalachian Mountains, we could actually get warm here. Oddly enough, that's when we get those 60s and 70s during the winter. Maybe it's rain shadow effect where the cold air gets stuck on the other side of the mountains, and the hot, warm air goes over to this side where we are in North Carolina. I saw. Anyway, so we're actually not as far north. We're about as far north as Tunisia is, North Carolina. So it doesn't sound too ridiculous that the Tunisian bees could live here. So there's North Carolina. It's right in between the 40 and the 30. There's a 40 latitude, 30. So Tunisia over here is just at about the same point. Where's the bottom? 30. Up here is 40, I think. Yeah, there. That's, well, so Tunisia is there. Morocco, Algeria. Southern Spain's also about the same latitude as we are in North Carolina. And if we want a cold hardy Tunisian bee, maybe the Spanish strain would be the most cold hardy. See, there's green down in the bottom southern Spain. There's also orange west of there. So the Spanish black bees are intermixing with the Tunisian right there in southern Spain. And that's the coldest. It gets cold. Cold nights. A record cold night is colder than in Africa. I think it's accurate. I don't know for sure, but this map says so. Anyway, so yeah, it might be that the Spaniards actually did come to America before the British, or I think before the French too. So the first Columbus came to the Caribbean islands. So if they left from a port on the south, they might have got some Tunisian genetics, along with the Spanish black. That's if they brought bees from a southern port, they would have got bees from there. So Spaniards came here. I think the first city in eastern United States was from the Spanish colonizing on northern Florida, northeastern Florida. Forgot what it's called. What city? They also the Spanish brought Spanish black bees up here in California. Back before they're I think the first to be ever introduced to the United States, or before the German blacks were. Before the British brought the German blacks, the Spanish were here and brought their own Spanish black bees. Portuguese brought a strain of Spanish black here in South America too, and that was, I think, before the British ever arrived to the New World. Well, I think, I don't know, but they're definitely earlier than they were Spanish earlier than the German black bees. But here in the eastern United States, it's very likely, I think, that the Spaniards would have brought their bees here too. So it might have been earlier than German blacks here in the eastern United States, along with the Tunisian bee, if the Spanish brought those two. But definitely we got Tunisian bees. I read in a book, queen rearing book, an old queen rearing book, I read that we got, there's Tunisian bees in the southeastern United States, or I'm not sure, but people bred them. And in Scotland, there were Caucasian bees are from there. It's actually a milder climate area. Right in that area, that little ring of mild climate, the Green Georgia Republic. So anyway, there's an old queen rearing book that talks about Scottish Tunisian bees being raised in Scotland. So I think they might be cold hardy enough to live here in North Carolina. It could have been the mountain strain though, or something like that in Africa, more cold hardy form. Now our thin-banded bees are actually narrow abdomen instead of broad. Spanish black bees, German black bees are broad. and that's really different from the ones I've been seeing. And so I think that they might be Tunisian, even though it's a milder climate from where they're from. They don't come from a really cold climate. But yeah, that person in the Queen Room book said that in Scotland they did really well. The Tunisian bees bred like wildfire and made a lot of honey. He didn't mention anything about overwintering, but he said that if a person was into beekeeping as a commercial operation, this would be a good bee. Very good bee. I'll link that on the bottom of this video, about that old Queen Ring book, so you can read that and ranges on the Tunisian bees, where they exactly are. Yeah. Okay. Goodbye.